Alright guys, so up to this point we've gone over all of the absolute basics in the JavaScript language. So things like variables and data types, conditionals, functions, loops. In the next section we're going to start to get into the DOM, or the Document Object Model, where we'll learn how to select elements in the DOM, how to change them, how to work with them, style things, work with events, traverse the DOM. So basically working with the UI. Up to this point we've been just dealing with the core language and using the console as an output to see the results. Alright, now before we get into the DOM in the next section, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about and look at the window object. Alright, because the document object is actually part of the window object, as with many other things. The window is the global object in client-side JavaScript. Now I know many of you probably aren't familiar with Node.js. I know a lot of you are, but many of you are not. And what it is it's a JavaScript runtime that runs as a standalone process on your machine and your computer. Alright, so your system, your computer system, is your environment in Node.js. Well, in client-side JavaScript, which is what this course is about, the window or the browser is the global environment. Okay, and what's cool is Node.js and Chrome both use the same JavaScript engine called V8, and it works the same way, it's just in different environments. Now the window object has a lot to it, okay, things that things that JavaScript developers use all the time, like local storage, the new fetch API, the navigator object, which includes geolocation, and then it even includes methods like alert and prompt and confirm. So I want to take a look at some of these properties and methods. Alright, now if we were to go over here in the console and just type in window and then click this little arrow, you can see all the different parts of window, including the alert method. If we go down here, you'll see like clear interval, clear timeout. We'll get into that stuff later on. We can close the window with the close method. You can see the document. This is actually the document object, so the core of the DOM. Fetch, which is the fetch API to make HTTP requests. We also have, let's see, we can get like the inner height and inner width of the window, which we'll take a look at. Local storage, that whole API is in the window object. So navigator, which is stuff that has to do with the browser, which we'll take a look at. All of the events that are available. So it has a lot to it. All right. So what we'll do is over here, let's say window methods, objects, and properties. All right. So even if we do a console log, like let's say console log 123. We could even do window.console log. Okay, now nobody really does that because there's no need to. We're at the top of the window object, so we don't need that. But it is part of the window. So a couple things I want to go over are alert, prompt, and confirm. Now alert is basically just that. It's a little box that pops up with an alert. So we can say window.alert. And we'll just say hello world and save and run, and we get this little pop-up that says hello world. Now most of the time you won't see the window here, so it'll be just alert, and that works just fine. Alright, so I'm going to comment that out. Let's also get rid of this console log right here. We don't need that. So in addition to alert, we have prompt. So prompt is similar to alert, except it takes an input. So what we'll do here is create a variable. We'll call it input. We'll set it to prompt. And then what we'll do is we can take that input and do whatever we want with it. So I'm just going to alert it back out. So we'll say alert input. Now if I save, we're going to get this drop down here with this text field. And we'll just put in hello. Oh, I'm going to click in it first and then say hello. And OK, and now you'll see it'll just alert it back out because that's what we chose to do with it, but you could do whatever you want with it. Alright, so that is prompt. We also have confirm. Now this is used often when you're deleting something because the person could just click delete by accident, or you just want to make sure that they're sure that they want to do whatever it is they're doing. So to do this, we'll do an if statement, and we'll say if confirm, and then it takes a parameter of the message. So let's say, are you sure? All right, and then if they'll have either OK or cancel. So if they click OK, then whatever you put in here will run. So we'll just say console log yes and save, and you can see we get are you sure. If I click OK, we get yes. Now if I click cancel, nothing will happen. If you want something to happen, you could just put an else, and you could say console.log, and let's say no. All right, so if I click OK, we get yes, and if I click cancel, we get no. Okay, so that is confirm. Now these aren't the best looking things. I mean, I would suggest putting alerts. For instance, if you have like an error message on form validation, I would suggest using the DOM and then, you know, outputting a nice looking bootstrap alert or something like that, rather than using these. These are kind of 90s type web applications, but they are there for you to use. All right, so now what I want to do is look at some properties. So for instance, we can get the height and the width of the window. Okay, you might need that for some kind of interactive application. What I'm going to do is declare a variable of val, and then down here console log it, just so we don't have a million different console logs to see these values. All right, so we can get the outer height and width. So we'll say val equals window dot outer height. Let's save that. Let's see, undefined. Why is it? Oh, I put 2 T's. All right, so the outer height right now is 1087. If I were to go ahead and shrink this down and reload, we get 863. All right, and you could actually create an event where, and we'll get into events later, where if you resize the window, this will constantly change, and you can do different things with that in terms of, you know, styling. Now we can also get the outer width. So if we go ahead and say outer width and save, we get 510, but if I were to make this a little bigger and reload, we get 561. All right, and outer is going to be from the outer edges. We also have inner width, which will be inside. So if you have scroll bars, for instance, it will be inside the scroll bars. So what I'll do is just copy this and paste that in, and this will be inner height and width. So we'll just change this to inner. Let's take a look at the height. So we'll just comment that out and save. We get 442. If we look at the width, we get 492. All right, now notice that the height was only 442 because it's not counting this. It's from here to here. All right. Actually, you know what I want to do is let's comment that back out. 442, but if I make this the Chrome tool smaller and reload, we get 607. All right, and notice that the outer height didn't count this. It was from top, you know, the very top to the very bottom. All right, so that's inner height and width and outer height and width. Now we can also get scroll points. So if you want to figure out where you are in terms of scrolling, we could say val equals window.scroll y, which would be on the vertical axis. So if I save, we're going to get 0 because we don't even have scroll bars. So obviously we're at the very top. Now what I want to do just temporarily is create a div here, and we'll say style equals, and let's say margin top 1000 pixels, and that'll give us a scroll bar. Okay, and now you can see if I reload, we're at 400. If I scroll up here, reload, we're at 100, and so on. All right, and you can do the same thing with horizontal scroll if you use scroll X. Okay, I'm not going to demonstrate it, but it works the same exact way. All right, just get rid of that div. All right, and you know what this is good for is those sites where you scroll down and you have the animations happen as you're scrolling down. That way you know what point you're at and when to show the animations. All right, now there's a few other things I want to look at. That is the location object and the history object, which is part of the window object. All right, so what we're going to do here is let's go and let's put a comment in here. We'll say location object. All right, so I'm going to set val equal to window dot location so we can see what that includes. So if we look at this, this object here, you can see we can get things like the host, which is the in this case the loopback address and the port, the host name, which is just the address. We can get just the port. We can get the path name, which is just slash. We can get the href, the origin. A lot of these things are the same. The protocol, which is HTTP. We have some methods like reload and replace. We can redirect with the location object. We can get query strings with search. So there's quite a bit here. Now I want to just show you that we can print out some of these things or use them if we want. So let's say we wanted the host name. We could say window location host name and save, and you can see, let me just fix this, and you can see we'll get our address here. And if you want a server with a domain name, it would show the domain name here. Okay, we can get things like the port. Whoops. So if we go ahead and show the port number, which should be 5500 in my case. Another thing we could do is href, which will give us everything. It'll give us the protocol. You can see it gives us the protocol. It gives us the host name and the port. All right, another cool thing we can get is the search parameters. So if we say .search, we're not going to have anything here by default, but if we go up here and add a question mark and let's say ID equals 1, then that's what's going to show in .search. It's going to show the query string. So if we were to do ampersand, we'll say ampersand name. Actually, I'll just go ahead and do that. So we have name equals Brad and member equals standard. All right, so later on what I want to do, not in this video, but later on, I'd like to do an exercise where we actually extract these values from the URL and put them into our script. And you can imagine some of the cool things that you could do with that. So you could have links that people click on, or get forms that people submit that will give you these parameters, and then you can do cool things with them. All right, so that is search. Now we can also do certain things with the location object, like redirect. So if we wanted to redirect, we could say window.location, and we could take that href value. Okay, remember we showed what it was, but we can also set it. So let's say HTTP, and we'll say google.com, and save. And now when it reloads, we get redirected to Google. All right, and usually this would be within your website, but you can also do external URLs. All right, another thing we can do is reload the page. So if we say window.location.reload. Now, if I save this and we go to our site, which is 127 loopback address 5500, it's gonna keep reloading. You'll see that it keeps stuttering because it's just constantly reloading, which obviously isn't very helpful. But if you did need to reload the page, you could use that. So I'm just going to comment that out. Let's also comment out the redirect. Oh. All right, so you can use the location object to redirect and reload the page. But reload you would use in some kind of function. You wouldn't just put it right in the global scope so that it keeps reloading. All right, so now what I want to do is take a look at the history object. So we'll go down here, let's say history object. Actually, I'll put that in lowercase. Now, history is just that. You can get your browsing history. So first thing we'll look at is, let's say, window.history.go. All right, and this will actually bring us back to wherever we came from, and we can do -1 to go back to the site before this, -2 to go before that. So what I'm going to do is just browse to a couple sites. So let's go to google.com. Let's go to facebook.com. We'll go to Twitter. And then we'll go back to our site. Okay, so if I go window.history.go and then pass in here, let's say -1, and save and reload, it's going to go to Twitter. If I change it to -2, save, and then we go back to our site, and you can see it takes us to Facebook. All right, so I'm going to just comment this out. Oops. And we'll go back. All right, so we can also check out the history length. If we were to, actually we'll put it in the val. We'll say window.history.length and save, and you can see we have 6. So basically we have 6 sites behind us. So the last thing I want to look at is the navigator object. All right, now the navigator object has to do with the actual browser, not the window or the environment, but the browser itself. So Chrome, Firefox. Now it's called Navigator because it's actually named after the old Netscape Navigator browser. All right, so there's quite a few things that we can take a look at here. So first of all, let's just put inside of our val variable window.navigator and save. And if we take a look here at this object, you can see we have quite a few things available. So we have the app code name, app name. Now app name is always going to be Netscape unless you're using IE, then it will be IE. God forbid, hopefully you're not using IE. The app version, basically this is either going to be 4.0 or 5.0. This isn't the version of Chrome. Actually, you know what? It'd probably be easier if we just print some of this stuff out so I can show you. But real quick, just to look, you can see geolocation is actually part of the navigator object. What else? The user agent. Okay, so that we can get the type of browser we're using from this. Now, notice it does say Mozilla, it says Safari, it says Chrome, but it does give us the correct version. I am using 6.1 point whatever. Let's see, storage, so Navigator Storage Manager, some other stuff here. You can see the vendor of the browser is Google Inc. Platform, so you can get the user's operating system, which is if it's on Windows, it'll be Win32. I believe if you're on a Mac, it'll be Darwin. All right, so let's look at some of this stuff. We'll put it in the val here. So if we say window.navigator.appname, then again, that's just going to give us Netscape unless we're on IE. All right, we can also get the version. So if we just go ahead and I'll just copy that down, and we can say app version, which will give us 5.0. Now this has to do with specifying 4th and 5th generation browsers. All right, and then you can see down here it gives us the version of Chrome. So if you want to actually use this to extract someone's version of their browser, you're going to have to do a little bit of magic and use some regular expressions and kind of filter through this. All right, same thing with user agent and anything else. So actually, let's take a look at user agent. That should give us pretty much the same thing. So that's going to be navigator.user agent, and we'll save. And you can see it looks very similar. It has the generation 5.0, and then it has the different versions here. All right, let's see, what else can we look at? So we can get the operating system or the platform, and we can get that with navigator.platform, and that gives us Win32. So you could do, if window navigator platform equals Win32, then do something on Windows. If it equals Darwin, then do something on Mac, and then I forget what it is for Linux. So we can also look at the vendor. So if we go ahead and do vendor. That will give us Google Inc. We can also get the language. We can get the language of the browser, which of course in my case is en-us. And there's some other stuff too, but it's not really worth going through. But I just wanted to show you that these are part of the window object. We will probably use some of this stuff later on, especially like redirecting with location and stuff like that. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. In the next section, we're going to start getting into the DOM. Okay, so we're going to get into the document object model and start to look at nodes, different elements, how to select elements, how to change content, how to change styles, how to basically work within the UI, change the UI, add events, all kinds of stuff like that. All right, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next section.